us to bring with us, even if not in substantial form, at least, you know, in our hearts, right? And I think that our efforts in reaching out to people and testifying about true parents is probably the most precious flower or fruit that, you know, true parents are looking for from us. But it's not so easy for us, right? So today's message is about, what mic will I continue to use? This one? Yeah. So do this. So Heavenly Tribal Messiahship. This is the Heavenly Tribal Messiah Wave message. Does Tribal Messiahship sound easy? Oh, guys? What if I told you that by the time you leave today, you can walk out of this room thinking that a Tribal Messiah, I can do that? Would you like that? Yes. That's what you're in for, so please prepare for that kind of content. Actually, I heard actually that you guys are, per capita, or at least for the communities we have in America, you guys are the smartest. Correct. Is that true? Yeah. So, I don't know, maybe it's because it rubs off on you doing your service in a university every Sunday. But I heard you guys are the smartest, so you guys are going to have to pay attention and follow me, because I want to go through fast. Why? Because probably you will want to go for lunch, right? Mother's Day. I don't know, hopefully you gentlemen are thinking about that. You have some plans. So I'm going to go through a lot of stuff really quick. But it is actually really basic. So basic, some of the stuff we're talking about, you might feel that, well, why didn't we, you know, mention this 20 years ago? It's that straightforward and simple. Okay? First of all, the True Mother said, right, the tribal messiahship movement will become a huge wave. This is Mother's word. And recently, Dr. Kim has been reminding us that even though the goal seems very high and we may want to experience the results and get the goal immediately, we shouldn't expect in one day or 1 week or by one person alone bringing all of the results quickly, right? Because we set ourselves up for disappointment. But he does encourage us to consider that small incremental steps every day will bring the results. Maybe not today, maybe not this week, maybe not this month. But actually, with God working, the other 95% will happen very quickly. And what he's encouraging us to understand is that if we do it together, which Mother is asking us to do, incremental steps together will be very quickly a huge wave. Aju? Aju. Okay. So that's good. Okay. Okay, so has anyone noticed our movement has kind of been in a phase of transformation? I don't know, maybe you guys feel like it's been that way from the very beginning. Certainly the last decade or two, you know, what are we called? Who's leading us? Where are we going? Our movement is definitely transforming. And Dr. Kim recently mentioned in a similar meeting we had in New Jersey, he said, you know, ownership is the key, but if we don't understand the time we are living in and our responsibility in it, how can we possibly succeed? Right? We can work really hard, we could even appear to be working really smart, but if we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing in the time we're supposed to be doing it, we will not experience the sweet honey taste of victory like we wish. So, it's important to know the time that we're in. Sorry, I forgot to mention, we have a lady I wanted to recognize. Is it Michi? Michi Gordon? Are you here? Sister? Hello. I wanted to recognize Michi because she helped my wife have our second child. Hannah, can you stand up? This little one. She's now just turned 9. She was born in Changpyeong. And I wanted to thank you. That's it. So that's another connection to your community there. So yeah, I have 3 kids, and also each of my 3 kids were born in different countries. Is that difficult for them? No. Who's that difficult for? Mama. Please give my wife a... I'm sorry, honey. Thank you. Okay, so, who's reading the Chansangyam? You smarties. Okay. Who's finished it? Who doesn't yet have a copy? A couple people. Dr. Balcom wanted me to show you something. I mean, you guys are so smart, you're already reading, but he's met many members that have the Cheonsang Gyang and the Pyonghwa Gyang, and they kind of sit like this on the offering table, or maybe like this, side by side. I don't know if you've seen something similar in your home, but he wanted me to show you this. I have to unite with my boss. So, actually it's interesting, he said, like, if you hold it like this, and then just tilt it down, and then... He just did this in Portland, Oregon. Everybody went, ooh, and then he showed, okay, so the gold part you hold on the right side, and then you open it, and then there's words. I was doing Hundake the other day with my son Timothy and my other kids. He was reading, and of course every child wants to read a book like this, right? And he read the whole thing, and then he turned over, and he was like, oh my God, there's a whole nother page of... There's too many words, they never stop. Anyway, my confession is I still have about 100 pages to go. But when I read this, any amount of time I spend on it, I feel amazing. I really honestly wish, if you guys were really smart, you would tell me to shut up now and leave, and just read the Cheonsang Gyang, just read Father's words. You don't need anything more from me. Everything is in here. And in fact, one of the reasons why this presentation is a little long is because I put a lot of Father's and Mother's words in there. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So, this comes from, this presentation comes from my experience, my job, my responsibility, Father's words, and we will go. Let's go. So, what we're really going to do today is a quick reality check, and then hopefully some simple, inspiring points that will help you feel and recognize your tribal messiahship. Okay? The reality check is really the question of how are we doing? Kevin Thompson puts it this way. He says there's two questions you can analyze everything. First, what's our business? Second question is how's business? This gets back to the where are we, what time are we in, and what am I to do with it question. Right? So first of all, let me give you the chance to put your hands together if you love true parents. Okay, so especially for you first gen, do you remember when you joined?
Yes.
Do you remember Easter? Do you remember why you joined?
Yes.
What it was? What was it? Come on. I don't ask rhetorical questions, so shout it out. Why did you join?
Found God.
Found God. Family. Community.
Answers to questions.
Answers to questions. Truth. Changing the world. Changing the world.
All evils in the world.
Truth.
The fall. Parallels of history.
Truth.
True parents.
Changing the world. Changing yourself. Yeah, everybody joined because of fundraising. That was our best marketing move ever. So I ask all over the world this question, and especially in America, the answers usually fall into one of two categories. Always, true parents and the divine principle are the ultimate anchor, but people's initial way in was usually something about either, the initial attraction was either, wow, the community is so great, or in some cases it was, I want to change the world. I think everybody can understand both. Although there's some that really wanted to change the world that didn't actually really like the community, in some cases, but it was the truth and true parents that got them. But ultimately, we all, those that joined, all wanted to be a part of changing the world. Now, what about second gen in the room? Which one? Why did you guys join the church? Huh? Born in the church. I've been asking second gen. A lot of second gen say that what they're looking for in their community is authentic relationship, rooting in, settling, being there for each other. Does that sound like the kind of community second gen want to be a part of? Is that true? Oh, but so you're quite realistic. But your parents are so idealistic. And there's a difference there. Like your parents were crazy. They'd go to the other side of the world, drop everything, change the world, yes! But you guys actually don't want to quit school to change the world, right? You want to go to school to change the world. You want to settle to change the world. And so working together, we'll find that actually we want the same thing. And God certainly wouldn't have been able to work with realistic people. So we should really respect our parents who were idealistic people, crazy people, because who else was going to stop everything to follow the Messiah, right? But preach? Who, me?
You're doing good.
Now I'm worried. Okay, so basically nobody here really joined kind of this. Right?
Right.
So let me ask you this question. How fulfilled is your family at sort of doing church?
Here we are.
We're here. I mean, you're the guys that actually... Oh, let me ask the question. How many of you really want to be here? Raise your hands if you want.
Today in this room or in our community of faith?
I mean, just generally speaking, in your community of faith, you wake up on Sunday and you think, that's where I want to be, that's relevant to me. Raise your hand. You guys are a really good community. But of course, you're the ones here. Okay, how many of us feel comfortable or excited or eager to bring a guest? Raise your hands. Who here feels that you could go to any community in America and bring a guest? Go down to 2, 3. Okay. Do you understand my problem? So, shall I make a really cool video and a website that's going to wow everybody and make them join? I can do that. But will they want to be here? If even we're not sure that we want them to be here or that we feel that they will want to be here? This is the reality check question. Ouch. In terms of growth, okay, when we talk about growing the church, sorry, are there any first-time guests here? Second? Just joined? Okay. So it's an in-crowd. In terms of growth and growing the church and witnessing, if you think about it, we are... God bless everybody that's doing it, okay? But we tend to fall back on what we think worked before for us. Truth is, in the 70s, lots of groups were growing, like ours. Right? Rick Warren actually studied from our church how to build a successful growth model. And other churches and other communities and other groups were growing fast. Do you know how many of them are growing fast now? None of them. It's not just a unique thing about our faith, right? So if you think about it, when we talk about witnessing, okay, and you might think that's my job, right? Okay, I'm going to make a good flyer, we're going to do a campaign, 120 days, Monday, let's do it, right? That might work, but most people will gather around. I've been in these conversations, we gather around, we have talks about witnessing and outreach and activities, and it's usually kind of falling back on what we did maybe before, or what worked before. But if you think about it, what we're actually doing is using old systems, right, to invite young people of today to something that we ourselves didn't even join. Right? Yeah. And frankly, they're not so interested in the system or what we joined before or what we find ourselves in today. So what are we doing wrong? I think Father already gave us so many tips, so we're going to really refer to Father's words to answer that question, not just my idea. Okay, so reality check. If we look at church growth in the last 10 years, what do you think the blue pie, part of the pie, refers to? That's us. What is the green sliver? The green sliver is, give or take, the amount of new members that we have in the last 10 years. Okay? But what would success look like? Looking at it from God's point of view, I'm not trying to give a downer here, but this is the reality, right? So now we've looked at the reality. What do you think is possible by, let's say, Foundation Day 2020, 5 years from now? What's possible? Okay, so do you think that by, Dr. Malcolm, first week of his, job was asking God this question, where are we going to be by 2020? Did anybody remember hearing his presentation? He said, God told me 5,000 churches, 50,000 members. 50,000 members. If that's our growth in the last, actually that's probably similar if we look at the last 20 years, if we don't include birth. In fact, we've lost members. Our headquarters staff last year went through all of the archives. We counted 20,000 people that we don't see anymore. Right? Dr. Balcom's really keen to reach out and love these brothers and sisters. So if you know them, that's really close to Mother's heart. In fact, apparently it's the first question she always asks him. Are we reaching out to them? But if that's where we were in the last 5-10 years, if you feel like success is possible from God's point of view and that we could do it, in 5 years it would look a little bit more like that, right? No? Okay, so hands up if you feel that from God's point of view that's possible.
Yes.
Hands up if you think it's impossible. It's okay. Okay. Okay, a couple people want to be honest. 3 people want to be honest. Well, no, everybody's honest. But, okay, it does seem impossible when we look at it from what's possible. But who cares about what's possible? That's kind of boring anyway, right? And by the way, certainly the first-gen idealists, you want to reach for what seems impossible anyway, right? Unless you've just been beaten down so long and you're so darn practical that you're, I'm there too, I get it. But from God's point of view, this is probably possible. And, but that's not what occurred to Dr. Balcom. He went back to God and he complained or asked and said, is this really true? You said 50,000 members by 2020. And he said, no, you're right. I did make a mistake. I skipped a 0. It's 500,000 members. And this is actually kind of what 500,000 members would look like. But the question is, you raise your hand, most of you, that you say, you want to be in this kind of community. I want to be in that community. I want to be a part of that movement, that church. But do we really want to be in that kind of a situation? Do we really want to be the minority? Us who pride ourselves on, we pride ourselves on certain things, right? We pride ourselves on certain things. How long we've been in the game, how many times we met true parents, how many times we got hit over the head by true father, or whatever it is, right? Maybe we pride ourselves on our ethnicity, or we pride ourselves on our blessing group, or we pride ourselves on what? Of course we pride ourselves on precious and true things, right? Like spiritual children, our family. But if you look at our culture, oftentimes the things that we measure are things that a new guest would feel, or a new member would feel really out of place, or really far behind. Right? So, I worry about those kinds of things. We have to be aware of our mindset so that our concept doesn't stop us growing. Because in reality, I think we are experiencing exactly what we want. This is what we've been working so hard to create. Exactly what we have. But we can acknowledge that God is capable of much more, and we're capable of much more. And I'm not here to just bring a downer on that, but to open up some doors that I think make sense about how we can do this, okay? So let's first start with Father's words. Considering the current situation of the Unification Church, we cannot expect any innovative developments in the future as long as leaders cling to the same methods they have been using thus far. We must not just hold on to old ways of thinking, old attitudes, old methods of witnessing or existing approaches to faith. This is because these methods have not met our expectations of bringing results. It would be different had we achieved good results. However, since we have not, we should abandon our conventional faith and life, as well as witnessing methods, and transform ourselves into new and different people. Unless we come up with a new, this is rocket science, this part. Unless we come up with a new attitude of faith, a new attitude in life, and new activities, it will be difficult to bring new development. It's 10:13 from the Chansangya. So let's take stock of some of the basics here. Is success likely or possible or inspiring? Or let's put it this way. Isn't success more likely if we have a unified idea and vision and identity and purpose and what it is we're doing, where we're going, and what we're inviting people to do? Yes. Okay, all you realistic people. Okay, so let's take a look at that, all right? Before we can invite someone into our community, we want to have this kind of common mindset. So, for example, any organization that takes itself seriously would have a mission statement, right? Do you know what our mission statement is? This is really about who we are, where we're going, and how we get there. Okay, so we can actually draw everything from the motto. Let's read the motto together. Let us become true owners of Chonabuk, who practice true love and resemblance to our Creator, the Heavenly Parent. As an identity, we are one family under God. Aju? Aju. Okay. How about this for a vision? God's love in every relationship. You know, Apple Computer had the vision statement, personal computer in every home, right? The only thing they forgot to say in that vision statement was personal Apple computer in every home. That's why we have so many PCs as well. But actually, we achieved together their vision because it was so simple. And everything that they decided to do in their business model was geared towards that vision. So the same, we should have that same kind of simple mindset. We want God's love in every relationship, between husband and wife, between parents and children, between us and our work, between us and our pets, between us and the flower, etc. We want God's love there, right? Okay, simple. How about a mission statement like this? To unite as God's family by sharing the divine principle and marriage blessing of true parents through building heavenly tribes that expand God's love by sharing truth, beauty, and goodness. So this is kind of like taking the motto and putting it into words that help us understand, well, what do I actually have to do? Where am I going? How do I explain it? And what do I do? If we only took this with us in our wallet, and the motto, right? If we took this with us in our wallet and we're ever wondering, what is it I'm supposed to be doing as a member or as a blessed family, right? This is our mission as a movement, Family Federation for World Peace. So, what is a member of the Family Federation for World Peace? This is so basic, right? I'm sorry, we're having to start this simple. But many people ask me these questions, so even pastors ask me, are we the unification church inside the Family Federation operating as so they're confused, even pastors, let alone, I'm sure members are confused, right, our brothers and sisters. So, I'm a member of the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification, aka unificationist, right? I'm not a Unification Church member inside of the Family Federation for World Peace, disguised as a Family Federationalist or a Family Federation for World Peace and Unification. I'm just a Unificationist, a member of the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification. So, let's define what membership is. First of all, it's important to know that membership is a process, right? Membership is not just something that I sign. It's not just a step, it's a commitment to continued growth. So how about this for a commitment? Please say it with me and tell me if you feel it rings true. Through a growing relationship with God and true parents, I commit to create a life of integrity, a family and community of love, and contribute to a world of peace according to the original ideals of creation. So we can always improve this, but in this already you have God, true parents, the three blessings, the truth. What else do you notice about it? The word growing. Membership is not something I did 40 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Membership is defined by how I am today, right? Should we ask, what Father says about this? There are those who have lived a life of faith, have known about the providence, and for less than a year or more than 10 years, or had a lifetime. So there's lots of different levels of membership. The issue then becomes, have you remained still, made progress, or retreated? You need to clearly state where you stand. If you made a significant progress in the past, but if you're at a standstill today, God's vitality cannot be with you and there cannot be a loving relationship with God. Having made tremendous positive strides in the past, you may have lived with the energy coming from receiving a boundless call, boundless vitality, and boundless love. Nevertheless, if you are at a standstill, this is tantamount to parting ways with God. So what we're really reminding ourselves here is that membership is a process towards growth. Do we have our bad days? Do we have our bad weeks? Some of us might have a bad decade, right? But growth is a process, okay? And the beauty of us accepting and acknowledging that is it kind of levels the playing field, right? And it no matter how many successes we've brought in the past, God bless us all. For a new guest coming, what Father is saying is even someone coming last week or this week, they have the potential of experiencing the same vitality, right? Based on their investment today. What I'm saying is, when we look around for unificationist material, we don't necessarily have to look for people that look like us already right now. Because frankly, we didn't look like we look now when we joined. Most people, right? But this is something, these are the first concerns that I had when I was taking my job. Even if we bring people, are we even interested in welcoming them? Or are we familiar? Or do we remember even how to talk to anyone about this stuff? It's not so easy, right? But we got really good at talking to ourselves. So, right? And maybe just kind of measuring everybody's value based on, you know, what? Based on whether you went to Changpyeong or not? God bless you. Whether you've been in 20, 30, 40 years, God bless you. But those things mean nothing to the new guest. And so what we anchor our value on, what we measure value from, needs to be something more fundamental and more daily, right? And this is the key. If you feel that's true, then this is the key to actually growing. So we also have a lot of traditions and practices. The traditions and practices that we follow are to secure, safeguard, support, and nurture our what?
Growth.
Our growth. Right? So again, when we, you know, we're really good at praying in Korean or bowing, or we know how to set up the offering table real well, better than everybody else, or whatever it is we have felt that we're really good at and we feel proud about, you know, the purpose of those things is to nurture and protect the heart, right? And to safeguard the regaining our original identity and value as sons and daughters. Aju?
Aju.
Why would I be saying that? I'm only saying it because personally I've been kind of on the chopping block a number of times, and I'm sure a lot of us have felt it, that sometimes we judge by the external practice and not by the internal heart, right? And that's not what Father wants us to do. Father wants us to, right, be sensitive to the heart, right? So this is, here's another example. What about, you know, this, like, there's true parents at the top, okay? Here's normal people, right? And what's that middle bar? Who's that? Now this middle bar, okay? That's us, right? We receive the blessing, we receive the anointing, we bless families, we understand the principle, we apply the principle every day, we love everybody, we've already fulfilled the first, second, and third blessing, we're perfect. How on earth are we going to reach so far down to them darn normal people? We get ahead of ourselves, right? I think, you know, maybe we should draw a circle. But if we want to draw lines, the reality might look a little bit more similar to that. In terms of how amazing true parents are, frankly, the possibility is that we're all true parents. And Father even wants us in many ways to exceed Him, right? He said so. But in terms of this big leap out into the normal world of the outside member, you know, it's really not so far away. We all struggle with the same things, and we all want the same things. And I think it's comfortable for us to remember this, right? Maybe not. Hands up if you don't like this diagram. You don't like it? Or you're just stretching? You don't like it? Okay, why? You like this one more?
No. I think you want to bring everything close together.
That's right. That's right. So, if my commitment as a member is to commit to a growing relationship with God and true parents, right? To eventually, you know, fulfill the three blessings and eventually understand, you know, the word, right? Actually apply it. You know, it's a process. Let's really support each other no matter where we're at, what we've done, what our failures have been, what our successes and victories have been. We are all in this process together, right? Now, isn't that more likely to be an inviting kind of energy to invite new people in? So it's a journey, right? Okay, so it's a journey that we're inviting people. This is a static diagram. That's why we don't like it, right? But it's definitely a journey. Let's see what Mother has to say about this. Mother says, do not center on yourself. Be humble, not full of pride. Let each of us have the attitude that we are here to learn from everyone around us. Everyone is equal in the eyes of God. Americans really like this. Everyone is equal in the eyes of God. In front of true parents of heaven, earth, and humankind, all sons and daughters are equally in the middle of the process of growth. Please keep that in mind. Aju? Go, girl. Okay. So, defining membership. We do these practices. We do things. If you think about it in most simple terms, I'm sorry because you guys are so smart. You're going to please come to me and tell me how to improve after. But basically, pretty much everything we do, if you think about it, falls into one of the three blessings. So it's almost as if, wow, that's actually our original blueprint, and everything that we do in our community serves to help us achieve all these, or one of them in particular. But we want to achieve all of the three great blessings, right? These are some of the things that we do, you know. The developing a heart of integrity so that I feel God's heart as my own, right? Blessing, family, relationships, and, you know, financial health, contribution, developing skills, serving, our providential organizations. So, in other words, we do a lot of stuff, right? And some of us do some things better than others. Some communities host certain events and practices better than others. But regardless, we actually want to acknowledge the benefit of these practices because what? They support what? Growth, right. So regardless of where we are, how good we are in any one of these areas, we really want to flesh out the full menu, right? Right? And so also when we think about it, when we're reaching out to people, there's many ways in, and there's certain things that might attract them first. You know, we shouldn't say, oh, the only way to witness is one way, my way. No. Right? Really have to be said, who does I'm even speaking with? So they may be more interested, is this the wire? They may be more interested in the truth. They may be initially interested in the community. Or they may be interested in what we're doing in the realm of the providential organizations, or serving, or contributing in that way. But no matter what way in, we want to invite them to experience all of the items on the menu. Aren't you? Okay. So where on earth does tribal messiahship fit in? Is this just another thing on the list that we have to do? Another campaign? No. Bam. First, let's demystify tribal messiahship, shall we? I want to let you know today that tribes are cool. Tribes, right? Has anybody read the book by Seth Godin, Tribes? So you might, he defines, if you boil it down, he defines tribes as an idea, a leader, and people that want to be involved in that. And there's communication, right? But if you think about it, who likes Starbucks? I don't know if we're on the East Coast. Okay. So you guys, you like Starbucks. If you had your druthers, you'd go Starbucks, right? If you had a choice. Right? You're the Starbucks tribe. Who here likes Dell computers? We've got 3 in the Dell tribe. Give it up for the Dells. Who likes British literature? Okay. So we actually like to gather around idea and leadership, and we like to follow, we like to feel a part of it. It's actually cool too. We want it. But usually in the West, what do we think of when we say the word tribes? Because for goodness sakes, it's like I've been, decades trying to figure out how to explain the Messiah thing. Now I've got to tell people tribal Messiah? It's 2 double whammies, right? Who feels ready to proclaim your tribal messiahship? Most in the West tend to think of something like this when we say the word tribes, right? Right? Something like that. We tend to think that, society progressed throughout history, starting with some individual, realized, actually it's the family, I'm going to be safer if I stay with the family, I'm going to just, But actually even better would be to organize our clan and tribe, and we eventually develop our modern stable society, especially in America, really proud of our freedoms and rights of the individual. Amen? Amen. I was singing the national anthem. You're driving the kids crazy. We were singing I don't know why I felt called to sing the national anthem on the way. I noticed we didn't sing the Chonaguk anthem. We should. But I think we should also sometimes sing the American national anthem. Aju? Out the whole way here, just singing those words. Even though God isn't in the word, but the understanding of God in everything else is in that song is amazing. That we're here. And everybody, regardless of where you were born or what passport you voted in on, we're all here as Americans. Right? This is something unique to happen here in this country. But it's not just I'm cooking your mics, guys. This one's the Irish mic. You're almost so different. That's fine. Okay, people, brothers and sisters. Let's change it up a bit. So this is kind of what we think. And then what happens is, with this incredible emphasis on individualism, what tends to happen is, we imagine tribes to be some kind of primitive, evolutionary step of the past, right? When we think of that picture. We don't equate our love for Starbucks as a tribe. It took Seth Godin to actually label that. But what we tend to think of tribes, we tend to think of those, it's a primitive thing, a stepping stone to get to the success of where we are today. Many people think this. In fact, now we're even hearing people challenge the need of a family. We don't really need tribes, that's primitive. In fact, even family, traditional family, we have to call it traditional, we have to actually label it traditional now. We can't even define it by saying family, right? Okay? And so that's why, you got even children's books and children's songs and TV shows having to change the words so that we don't offend young children that 3 generations deep don't even have a mom and dad. They're raised by grandma or raised by 2 dads or 2 moms or whatever the situation. So we have to define traditional family. And we even find this is under attack, right? It's not really needed, right? But what we're here to say is actually we need tribes, we need families. It's not just families are the cornerstone of a stable society. Tribes also. We build a nation with tribes. We need them, we want them, we're already in them. Why don't we galvanize heavenly tribes around true parents? Aju? But it might still seem difficult, right? It's easy to invite somebody for a coffee at Starbucks. How do we do this? How do we build a heavenly tribe? If we really want this to happen, if we really want success that apparently true parents expect, then we do need to change the way we do things. That might be painful though. There's a reason why we don't really all feel fully satisfied when we do church the way we do church. And I think it's connected to the fact that Dr. Kim stated about needing to know the time we live in and our responsibility in it. I know a lot of the things I'm going to say here today you've probably all thought of. Because this is the time to be thinking these things. When we look back from success, when we look back 5 years from now, and we're looking back on the foundation of success, I promise you, it will have been because we will have expanded heavenly tribes. Aju? It's not going to be because we do a better soup kitchen, or because we have a more tantalizing flyer or a better website, although all those things we can and should do. How we're actually going to grow is through tribes. We will grow through tribes. Do you believe me? All right, let's refer to what Father says about it. Tribes will emerge centered on blessed families, so please accomplish your mission as tribal messiahs. In the future, we will establish churches around the leaders of tribes. All blessed families are leaders of tribes. In the future, the Unification Church will not have services based on sermons. They will be based on We will focus on testimonies that can bring honor and pride to our
Families.
Thus, all family members will participate in such services.
Together.
Of course, it helps you got the words up there. We will learn from the testimonies of exemplary families, and those with little to report will receive guidance. In this way, we will be able to build the kingdom of heaven in our families. Unless we do so, dun, 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 dun. Guys, we can't slip around this one. We can't get around this. This is what we joined. This is what we were born for. But it's easy to get up here and talk about tribal messiahship, actually. How many of us are really successful heavenly tribal messiahs? I just got back from Korea where they had lots of very smart people presenting on tribal messiahship, and the truth is really nobody really knows. Because we haven't done it yet. And even if we did do it in another country, it's not the same in America. You're not gonna, right? Okay. Well, let's look at ourselves first again. We've been preaching about tribal messiahship, but we have not made tribal messiahship the organizational focus of our ministry, have we? It's very easy for me to get up here, or anybody to get up here and say, 430 families, God bless them, let's do it, Arjuman say! And then go. I can just keep on doing that in every city. And I get home, and my kids are there, I was like, Dad, Dad, get off, kiddo, can't you see I'm trying to build the kingdom of heaven here? Right? It's easy to get up and preach about tribal messiahship. But how many of us actually do it? Right? And even so, the pastor may preach on it. Does the pastor actually help you do it? I hear you guys are looking for a new pastor. What are the qualities you're really interested in? Great sermons? You just heard from Father, that's not the way forward. What is it? Although most pastors think that that's the most important thing. But up until a certain time, that's true. After a certain point, something else is the most important thing. Right? So what qualities are you really looking for in a pastor? Communication. Relationship.
Commitment.
Participation. Coronation. Cooperation. Emancipation. Justification. Indignation. All the shots. Okay. Here, this is kind of what we have felt, I think. I'm sure there's a percentage that see it differently and have great other charts. But, our identity has been, especially as single members, we're supporting the church, we're supporting true parents, we're supporting the church, we're offering for the hire, right? We even sacrifice our families to unite with the leader to support the church, right? Hands up if you're familiar with that. Tribal messiahship. Good luck, guys. It's your job, okay? And Father has even said, don't expect help from me. It is our portion of responsibility. I didn't bring the quote because I've got too many more quotes and already my time's getting thin. But Father explains in the Chen San Gyan that even the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification, we all know the unification the church wasn't supposed to have to exist, right? Sorry. Also, the Family Federation for World Peace was not supposed to have to exist. Father made it because we were already at that time not successful in home church and tribal messiahship. So, if we built the Family Fed because tribal messiahship wasn't up and running yet, what do you think the purpose of Family Fed might, should, could, would be? Am I going too long? Shall I quit?
No.
Bishop Kim said you end at the time. Doesn't matter if you finish. So, from 5 minutes on, anybody here has permission to kick me away. I'll just continue in the hallway. The reality is that those that do tribal messiahship often find themselves in this type of a relationship. Are we really, as an organization, valuing tribal messiahship and supporting it to occur? Tell me honestly. Because I work for headquarters, you can tell me.
No, we are not.
Okay, then you should. Do you think it's important?
Yes.
Darn grassroots people coming up with these fancy ideas, telling us how to do our job. Yeah, grassroots. Okay, so it's true, all of you believe that it would be better if you were supported to fulfill tribal messiahship? Okay. Should we listen to Father's words again? I am saying that we have to change our families one by one. The organizational structure of the Unification Church is based on families. Families are the center. The focus has shifted from the individual to the family. John 5:2. So, if it's every family's core responsibility to fulfill tribal messiahship, and it's every pastor's job to support the families, then what is the pastor's job? So I know this is like kindergarten level, right? But isn't it refreshing to actually take it down to the brass tacks? It's a partnership. It is a partnership. Now, there are cases where there are pastors that don't want to have anything to do with it because it doesn't... Okay, I'm not putting anybody down. This is a cultural thing, okay? There's a tendency to think that in what way does that benefit me, you growing your little church? I need you to help me grow my church. It's okay, I can take the pain. Did it to myself. No. You know, this is the reality. In some other cases, we actually have families who, like that, want to bring the offering to the pastor's not interested. In other cases, we have the pastor wanting to support and the family just wanting to have nothing to do. Why? Because what have you got to do with what I'm doing? Well, the bureaucracy and the level, it's all about grassroots now, right? Even the principle, foundation, faith and substance. This exists, okay? I'm not saying it exists here, but it exists. I've seen it. I've been on both sides of the fence on this. I've seen it. It's a partnership. You know, when we were in cars fundraising, you had a goal. Did you meet your goal every day? What did you do when you got back in the van? Oh, you reported. Why? Central figure. Why? Okay, even on the days that you had bad days externally in terms of your result, you still ultimately saw God working, right? So, why is it that when we hear Unification Church testimonies these days, most of the time, any country you go to, it happens to be testimonies that are like 20 or 30 years old? Why? Could it possibly be because it was the last time we found ourselves actually applying the divine principle in terms of unity of a common purpose and reporting to a central figure and give and taking with that? No, I can just do it with my wife, right? I can just do it by myself. I'm a less central family now. I don't need anybody. Right? Don't you think we might prosper if we work together? If headquarters, right, evaluates the success of a pastor based on how well they're supporting you to be victorious in tribal messiahship, wouldn't that be cool? Yes. Right? Because then when we ask Pastor Bob, Pastor Joe, what do you need? How can we help you? How can we serve you? He goes to the member and asks the member, what is it? What do you need? How can we serve you? And then it's not the member talking about, well, could you turn the music down or turn it up? Can we take our shoes off when we come in or keep them on? Can we have two parents' picture on the left or the right? Or where's Jesus' picture? Or the lights are too bright or the lights are too dim? Or I like church at 9. Or let's do church at 10. Or I know, let's select a committee to vote on it. Who's going to be in a committee? I don't know. Why don't we have a vote on who can join the committee? Okay? Does this ring any bells? I did the survey in my own church when I was a pastor. I asked, raise your hands if you like it this way, raise your hands if you like that way. 10 minutes later I said, okay, now everybody, how can you possibly ever expect any pastor to satisfy your every need? Is the pastor really interested in your need? Really? 95% of the time, and I ask this question, how much time do you spend in conversation when you're doing church stuff? How much of it is about committees, councils, churches, Sunday, prep for Sunday, review from Sunday, midweek program, next campaign, this, that, and the other. God bless all of it, but how much time do we spend talking about that? I haven't found anybody that could say less than 95%. A lot of say 100% of the time that they do church stuff, that's the conversation. And it gets worse. Sometimes we spend time talking about others behind their back. You see what he said? This isn't unique to our faith. Right? This is exemplifying inactivity. This is a perfect example of inactivity, of my own work, right? Of bringing my own fruit, right? It's very easy for human beings to slip into this, right? So what percentage of time do we spend actually talking about the people outside that door right now? Less than 5%. And that's talking. How much time do we spend praying for them? Probably less than 3. How much time do we actually spend in an intentional way as we would consider our ministry, our church job? How much time do we spend actually even being in their lives? Okay? That's kind of our reality. That's why, frankly, my wife was really worried when I took this job. Because, we're talking about a cultural shift. We're not talking about a snazzy new system or a snazzy new campaign. We're talking about a fundamental cultural shift. That if we really wanted it, we probably would already be doing it. So it's a little bit of a challenge. First, let's start with the global standards. If you want to do tribal messiahship, you've got to know the global standards. There was people that showed up in Chongpyong for the award, right, of the Heavenly Tribal Messiah, and some of them couldn't receive it. Why? Because right at the last minute they realized there was completely different standards by what it even means. So this is some of the legalistic aspect, but you probably want to know, right? Probably many of you have blessed couples, or you think, I've already got 120, but you're kind of wondering, well, what does it mean anyway? Okay, so you can take note. Easy. The first standard to be a Heavenly Tribal Messiahship is you need to be perfect. Or at least you need to want to be perfect. And remember, it has been defined, perfection has been defined by incremental steps towards it every day. That's nice, right? Okay, so you're already all perfect, if you believe in that. Okay, first standard is you yourself are growing into this Chanelguk citizen role. And this is the condensed version. And I'm sorry, I sinned. I put it into positive language. I didn't say, thou shalt not. I just went straight for, protecting lineage, protecting heart, protecting public funds. Okay? And live by and evangelize true parents and do good and do tribal messiahship. This is from international headquarters. Okay? The next thing you've got to do is you need to witness to 430 families and bless them. How bless them? Not candy, not juice. Actually bless them all the way through. They need to be blessed. In fact, they need to be members. Members, how members? Members like us, in a growing relationship with God and true parents. Father said once, some people see me as the true teacher, the true business guy, or the true Messiah. The important thing is that you see me. So it might, wherever we start in our understanding of true parents, that's why I put up the chart about the lines, right? We can get quite haughty and say, well, you're not really a member until you've already completely wept and repented and accepted true parents as your Messiah, right? But in reality, are we there every day? Right? So that's why I put up that chart before, because we need to be constantly growing towards it. Then we can genuinely invite others to that process. Now, the good news is that it spans across 3 generations. Whatever age you are, you're the first generation. Even if you're second gen, you're the first gen of your tribe, but you're also the second gen of your parents' tribe. So there's a lot of overlap, and that's cool. So 3 generations, 430 couples. It includes your biological children, your spiritual children, and their biological and spiritual children. Okay? It's a family affair, right? When you gather around with your family and you ask your family, what's our tribe going to look like? I bet you ice cream is going to be a part of your tribe, because your children are a part of your tribe, and your children have a say-so. Aju? It's not just dad goes off or mom goes off. Maybe 1 or 2 of the family do a lot of the work, but you come together once a week or once a day to pray on it, to report on it, and it's all of your offering together. Aju? And whether your children are already the other side of the country, or they're going to college, or they're doing GPA, or whatever they're doing, they're a part of your tribe, and every person they witness to is a part of your tribe. And you want to take care of those people. right? So, life of faith and blessing standards are actually determined by each nation. So when we say you need 430 couples that are blessed and members following a life of faith standard, what is that? Well, international standard is they need to show up and tithe once every 6 months. Sorry, that might mean this room is like empty next week. That's the international standards. This is actually the standards they run Japan Church with. In Japan, everybody has a card. You walk in, you're scanned. So the pastor knows if you're up to like 5 months and 3 weeks and you haven't showed up, you get a call. Now these again, yeah, question?
Showing up at church?
Okay, in America, we want to increase our worship. Okay? We already reported to Korea, by the way, sorry guys. We reported for you all on your behalf that we would increase your attendance to worship in 2015. And so I asked Dr. Balcom, what do you need? What parameters need to be met for worship? What do you need for worship? People. He said you need people. So I actually kind of more conservatively said, well, maybe we include prayer, maybe we include Father's Word, right? What that means is whatever we do on service on Sunday, we continue. But also, those of us that are conducting tribal messiahship activities or home church activities and gather for worship any day of the week, anywhere in the world, counts. If you are in relationship with your pastor about it, it counts as our national offering for coming together, praying together, sharing Father's words together. Aju? So, it's not about the building. But you heard Father's words. He wants us to come together to bring the fruit and testimony. Okay? Okay, so that's all of the legalistic stuff. How on earth do I actually start myself, tribal messiahship? I've been going 54 minutes. Should I stop or do you want to continue? Because we can start right now with it. This is where we do the... Can you go a little longer?
Yes.
Okay. How do I start tribal messiahship? There's a wise saying in Asia. There's a wise saying in Asia that says to accidentally bump shoulders with somebody in the street takes 2,000 years of preparation. 2,000 years of preparation to accidentally, randomly, bump into somebody in the street, right? So how long does it take to actually be sitting next to someone, or be a neighbor to someone, or have someone as your personal bus driver? Or how long does it take to actually be working the same job, same street, same time, same, date, same place? Any mathematicians? Right? Millions of years to prepare, right? For each and every person that you know. So what this means are you're surrounded by people. You're surrounded by people. Okay? I get it. We want to witness and go meet new people. So what are we doing with the people that we already know? We should reach out and meet new people. But when we meet new people, what we do is we do the campaign, right? And then we go to meet new people, and then we, put them in touch with the education team. And then there's a follow-up team. You're going to need your prayer team, right? And then you've got your hero pastor that you spent 6 months making sure you found the best one in the country, who's going to totally make gold happen, right? And all you got to go do is, go tell people about true parents, give them truth. And then the system will take care of them. Why? Because we're inviting people to join my church. But the reality is on average, every couple knows at least 150 people. You know this? You might not think it, but when you start to write down the names or look through your address book, you know 150 people. And if you do the math in America, what that actually means is that right now in the United States, there's over 1 million people one step away from true parents. That step is you. That step is me. So when we talk about impossibility, if we clarify what it means to be what this movement is doing anyway, we're expanding God's foundation. We're building one family under God. by growing our tribe, by growing our family. So when I witness to you, I'm not inviting you to join my church. I'm inviting you to join my family. I'm inviting you to join my tribe. It's very different. When we send our kids off to go do the 3-week witnessing campaign, they're not just, putting down contact names on a contact sheet for the follow-up team and the prayer team to take care of, actually. They're bringing those names home to the family, to report to the parents and say, guys, these are the people that God, it's not God did this. God brought these people in our lives. If we don't take seriously the relationships that we already have, what kind of new people will we meet? How can we meet new people? I know it's a little bit different than 40 years ago, right? When we were single, living in the center, going at it full time. But now we're needing to balance family life, settling, being real, being authentic, not being totally crazy, right? And still changing the world. This is the key. Okay, going so long, leaving the Sunday service team back. So we want to invite you to recommence tribal messiahship by following these 5 steps. First of all, condition. Okay, these are the things that after everything I've said, you could almost forget, and just start with this. Start with a condition. And I strongly suggest this is the condition. Because the more I hear Father's words, the more I realize how insignificant mine are. And you feel yourself changing, physiologically. You feel yourself changing. Recently we heard a testimony from Pastor Mark. He was in Vegas. And he said that because he homeschools his son, he spends at least 90 minutes in the morning. He doesn't have to drive kids to school, and he's the one taking care of the home. He reads 90 minutes plus, and he says at 90 minutes he starts to feel like he's entering this Chonilguk state. Right? It's true. I tried it. Anybody else felt that? It's true, right? And then I start to notice, kind of like when you do meditation, your mind kind of grabs on really interesting insights and wants to sort of stop and write them down, and that's good to do. But I notice that when I drop my thoughts and just like absorb, something really changes. I think that would be a great condition. And if possibly to participate with your family. Or if you're working in a trinity when you do your tribe, do it as a trinity. Or more. Right? Set a condition. It's really ultimately for your own benefit that you do. Right? First. Secondly, make a list. This means to recognize and claim the people that you already know now. Make a list. Right? What we're doing is, I know 150 people. I'm a tribal messiah of 150 people. If I'm a pastor and I have 100 people, and these 100 people know 100 people, what's the size of my ministry? It's not 100 people. We always think it's 100 people. And how are we going to get our next 10? The pastor should not be praying for 100 people, okay? If you hire one. They should be praying for the 10,000 people. There's 10,000 people in the ministry. There's 10,000 people connected to True Parents through you here. So everything that we do, everything that we pray for, and everything that we plan should be thinking of those people, or not. Maybe we should just think about what our cool ideas are, what we want for ourselves. No. So make a list and claim that as your tribe. Third, you saw it coming, offer it. Actually fulfill the offering by letting your pastor know. Sorry, grassroots people. Yeah. Acknowledge that there's an offering table, and acknowledge that it's good to let your pastor know. You know, Mother initiated this huge witnessing campaign in Las Vegas. At that time, she was under the impression that there was nobody witnessing in America and nobody doing tribal messiahship. Do you think that's true? It's not true. But why she doesn't know? All the great things happening. How come headquarters doesn't tell everybody all the great things that are happening? Because we don't know. Because it's not a part of our conversation. So make it part of the conversation. And then steps 4 and 5 are really cool. Steps 4 is just love the people on your list. Love the people in your tribe, okay? And continually offer it up. So this is a loop. You've got a list of 10 people or 100 people. Your first job as a tribal messiahship is to be relevant to them. Love them. Love them. Love them. And at the end of the week or in your monthly meetings, let your pastor know how it's going. Then, The content of your conversation with your pastor will now be about them. The spirit world will be mobilized around your focused effort and unity around them, right? And everything else becomes secondary. This is, recently at Belvedere we did this presentation and we had brothers and sisters write down their list. The way to write down your list is, you already know. Follow your intuition. It's not your strategic thinking. You know the people who they are. First 10 people, or 5 or 10 people. So let's start now, right now. I do have a couple more things to say, but I want to take maybe 5 minutes right now. We'll wrap up soon for all you hungry mothers. But if you have a pen and paper, you should have got one on the way in. Write down now. Start now. There's those people standing out the door right now. If you have some background music, it's good. These people right now, guess what? They're already alive. The spiritual children of your tribe are already alive. The people that are going to help you build your tribe are already alive. And their hearts are beating. They're probably somewhere right now thinking about lunch. They exist. And you know them. You know them. So just take 5 minutes to write down at least 5 or 10 names. Just keep on writing until we stop. Okay? Share pens if you need to. Some of you know the same people. Overlap is good. Okay? Thank you for that beautiful music. So what do we do with these people? I don't know. Let's bring them to the next lecture straight. Let's talk real quick about what we're going to do with them, okay? What we're talking about here is what we measure as valuable. And I'm suggesting that we define a new currency of value in our movement. The single currency of building the kingdom of heaven as love. Our most precious activity, love. Right? See couples holding hands. So, witnessing equals love. Let's listen to True Mother. The blessing you receive by meeting the true parents of heaven, earth, and humankind should not remain only in your family. You are the ones who can display your pride in the blessing in front of the 7 billion people on earth. Please remember that with every blessing comes responsibility. If you fail to fulfill your responsibility, indemnity will follow. Know that for a surety, because of this, you should completely unite with True Mother. Completely unite and move forward toward a single goal. Don't look sideways. This is how the blessing can come to you. In the spirit world, you breathe love as you're near. Witnessing is about the love you saw. Arjun? So, what I like to explain to people about love and education and witnessing is this. This is from the principle, also a UT kind of perspective. But we're stimulating the 3 parts of our original mind when we love people, centered on heart, right? So actually, if we were to define this as love, or if we were to say that witnessing equals love, and therefore this is witnessing, right? Witnessing is sharing the word, offering testimony, and testifying about true parents. But witnessing is also beauty. Witnessing is also goodness. Being there for people, listening to people, forgiving people, creating harmony, serving people, giving, Every single act counts. Every single piece is a step, just like Dr. Kim was talking about. Those are the particles. Those are the daily elements that make up the wave, okay? If we just talk about it, if we even walk out of here half inspired about it, but do not do it, it's not what it is. It's about doing a little bit every day. Doing a little bit every day. Right? With just those people that are on your list right now. Think about it. If you made the intention and the goal to do something for one of them every day, for 21 days, or for 40 days, or for 120 days, what would that do to our lives. The point is, we feel good when we do it. We feel what? Warm and fuzzy. We feel good when we do it. Father says witnessing should be joyful. Right? Let's listen to Father's words. Do we witness with flow or do we witness with fear? Father asks this question. Oh, I'm a kind of easy guy, go with the flow. Yeah. Or am I doing witnessing because if I don't, I'm going to die? Which kind are you? Father says, those motives fail the test. So how should we witness? Your mind was meant to begin with the happiness, not sadness. The experience of joy rather than of sadness was to be the first. What was the fall? The elements of sadness took primacy before happiness could blossom. We are the people in search of the path of destiny leading to redemption. Therefore, we need to begin with joy and internalize God's will in a joyful process. We have plenty of content by which to grow. We are also fully equipped with the favorable conditions and environment that have been given to us in this age. Then why are we unable to grow? It is because we are not adding anything to the people of this age or the environment we are living in. Simply put, we are not benefiting them in any way. Although we are unable to benefit others materially, if we can make people feel deeply that they can benefit from us spiritually or mentally, then they are bound to come to church even if told not to come. Are you? Are you? This is true parents giving us permission to love people. Starting with ourselves, starting with each other, right? Okay? There's one community I went to and nobody even said, hi, what's your name? For 3 weeks. 3 weeks! Why? Because that's the welcoming team's job, of course, right? And if you don't have a good welcoming team, that's the pastor's fault. These are the steps. We're talking about organizing ourselves in a principled way and simply loving people, right? Make a condition. It counts. Make the determination to reach the 4:30, knowing that it wasn't your idea, it was God's idea, and true parents told you so. It's possible, and it will come to pass. The only thing we can do is find ways to stop it from happening. Maybe we need to select a committee for that, but I don't think so, because we're pretty good at doing it. Instead, let's reverse our concepts and our habits, regardless of whether we're first gen, second gen, third gen. We're making a condition, we're making a list, we're recognizing I am already a tribal messiah of 100 people or 100 families, and I claim it. Just like when Father proclaims and claims, you know, most of the time the people in the room aren't even members. A lot of those big events in Korea, they truck people in by the boatload. A lot of grandparents, I've been there, I mobilize those guys. They get free cake. Does Father does Father not know that? Is Father, sure, Father's upset. Father wishes us to bring our Tribal Messiahship Foundation. But in lieu of that, what does he accept? Darn it, I was blessed with my wife at the 3.6 million couples blessing. Did anybody hear of that blessing? You probably haven't heard much about it since then, because it's now called the 40 million couples blessing. 40 million couples. Are those 40 million couples like my wife and I? Maybe many of them better. But most of them probably don't even know what was that flavor of candy, or... Right? Did Father get up there and say? No. He could have said, we reached 3.6, pretty good, but he accepted 40 million. Because he looks for any opportunity to claim. Why would God do that? Why would Father do that? Why don't we do that? Right? So even though you might feel right now your mind clicking away saying, oh, this person on my list, that person, I'm not going to like this one, I'm not going to like that, or that person, they're going to struggle with this, or whatever. I tried with them, but they're not going to... Whatever the dialogue is, cut it out. This is the dialogue. This is your internal dialogue. Right? You make the list and claim it as your tribe. Now, are all 100 going to be in Korea next Foundation Day? Probably not. Right? But working on that list and starting with the top 3 or 12 or 10 or 5, you're going to see a change, a dynamic. It's called God working, right? God working, spirit world mobilized. And God will be working and showing you what to do next. I'm not going to tell you I could. I'm quite a strategic thinker. But you don't want me to get up here and tell you the 10 steps to perfection, right? And then sell you the book. God is going to do a much better job. I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys how God worked in such and such a way. And I'll give you an example. This happened recently. One brother made his list. He went home. He prayed on it. One name popped out as the first person he really wants to reach out to. I haven't met this guy in like 5-10 years. This is the guy. I'm going to work with this guy. He prays on it. Later he goes for a coffee to relax. He goes into the coffee shop. Who's the first person he meets? This guy. What does that mean? That means, oh my God, God is real. Right? Spirit world's real and I'm supposed to be doing this. That's a testimony that inspires you to continue. Are you? Right? But if he met that guy without the prayer, without the intention, he probably may have met him anyway. Right? It's the preparation. So when we talk about meeting prepared people, what are we really talking about? Being prepared. Right? Be prepared. Are you? There's the list. Report it, love, report, love, offer, love, offer, love, offer. Now you might be wondering, oh, but how am I going to teach them the principle? We've got a really good lecturer, but he only do Sunday or Saturday from 5 to 7. Do not worry about those things. Worry first. Imagine if we didn't even worry about that. The love menu has a lot of other things to pick from, right? Imagine if all of America from now for 3 months, every day, loved 1 or 3 people on their list every day. What would happen to our movement? Would Mother feel that? Would God recognize that? Answer.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Real quick, I'll explain to you about this whole weird thing about tribal messiahship, okay? I got tired of beating around the bush. So now, and I've tried this with 2 or 3 people so far. One guy I met on the bus. He's a 31-year-old Indian software engineer. Another guy I met in San Diego years ago. Best you could say is we're Facebook acquaintances, right? 28 Caucasian male, 28-year-old. And people like this. So I tried this. I said, I'm building a tribe. What? Yeah, I'm building a tribe. What does that mean to you? Then I explained to them what I explained to you here. I say, but the point of this tribe is we want a common ideology and a common worldview. And have you heard of Reverend Moon, by the way? Reverend and Mrs. Moon? They brought the concept of true parentism. They want to build one family under God by inspiring one family at a time to build a heavenly tribe centered around a common ideology, a common worldview, so that we can help each other, love each other, support and help each other's children, and so on. Really? Yeah, but the only thing is you need to study the divine principle. Okay. And then I teach them online with tools that we're creating for even a brand new member to teach them online. Why? Because when I say to Gabriel, I say, Gabriel, I'm sharing the divine principle with you, not for you. When you receive this, I want you to think of who are the people that God has brought to you. I want to help you build your tribe. Right? It's not, I want you to come into my church so I can get my points. It's different. Okay, let's finish with True Mother's words, and then seriously, it's over. Or it just begins. Please consider this. Even if water is pure, if it remains stagnant, the quality deteriorates and it begins to rot. Even though that water is pure, it has to move. It must flow toward the ocean. Living beings that are dying will revive wherever this true water of life flows. That is why it is necessary for tribal messiahs to act upon their responsibilities. The tribal messiah movement will become a huge wave. Are you? So shall we act?
Yes.
Shall we act?
Yes.
Are you? Let's do it because our tribes are waiting for us. Okay, that's it.